we're going to kick things off with our game of the weekend right here. It's the Friday night clash at Hillsborough between Sheffield Wednesday and Sunderland. Sunderland are your 6-4 favourites to win this one with SBK. A Wednesday win is 2-1. The draw is 23-10. But the question which every listener is screaming at their speakers right now is, what derby is this?
It's the Kenwyne Jones derby.
It's flipping not. It's the Chris Maguire derby. A player I always liked, actually. He was a handy little player, wasn't he, old Chrissy Maguire?
In League One, yes. Championship, completely out of his depth. He's a player that obviously came through. He came through at Derby. He didn't come through at Derby, but he signed for Derby. And he got lambasted by Nigel Clough for controlling the ball on the outside of his boot, not the inside of his boot. It's a very specific story, I remember. And I put that down to him not being a success at Derby.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll remember that next time I'm playing five-a-side. But my main memory of him when he was playing for Oxford, I think, he took a penalty, scored the penalty, and then celebrated by going onto the goal line and taking the piss out of the goalkeeper by diving pathetically.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. If you're a shithouse, you'll always be a favourite with us here on the Second Tier podcast. But look, let's look at this game, Justin, because it's two teams here who are definitely suffering from bouts of inconsistency right now. Sunderland have had 3 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses in their last 7 games, while Sheffield Wednesday have actually been inconsistent all season, haven't they? But since the turn of the year, they've had 3 wins, 3 draws, 4 losses. So they're both a bit unpredictable right now, which isn't ideal when we're having to predict how it's going to go very shortly.
Yeah, no, it's a troubling time for them both to hit this inconsistent spell. Obviously, Sunderland's automatic hopes have all but diminished, while Wednesday need to generate a run of form to, breach the playoffs, if you like. And I think both sides are coming into the game having, hit some really bad habits of late. They're both conceding a lot. You talk about clean sheets. Sunderland, their ability to keep opposition out is waning a little bit. The chances they're conceding, the XG against has crept up significantly. And I think Wednesday are probably relying on too much on sort of chaotic moments and also a lack of quality in front of goal. That's really, really harming them. You look at that 4-0 defeat to Burnley last weekend. It could have been a different game if Wednesday were taking their chances. And yeah, it was the same against Coventry and West Brom in those defeats as well. So yeah, they're both inconsistent, and they're both hitting that inconsistent patch at the really probably the worst time to do it.
Yeah, considering we are approaching the business end of the season. Sunderland have had a drop-off in recent weeks, which, as you say, Justin, has seen them fall out of the automatic promotion race, essentially. And to make matters worse, they've had a couple of big injury blows. Dan Ballard is going to miss up to 8 weeks with a hamstring injury. And perhaps more significantly, Enzo Lefebvre. He's going to miss up to 6 weeks as well, also with a hamstring injury. And you think about all the hype, all the hard work that went into getting him through the doors at the Stadium of Light, not to mention probably a fair bit of money as well, to potentially be missing him for, a month and a half. It's a real sucker punch for Sunderland, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and obviously it's pretty much the rest of the season, barring a few games in April, May, and obviously the playoffs. That's by the by, but Sunderland have got to get there, haven't they? And obviously missing Ballard and Lefebvre, it's going to be huge. Lefebvre has had a huge impact on the team, but I do, part of me does think the squad and the intensity might rebalance in his absence. Not saying he's a bad player or he's been a bad player for Sunderland, but it felt like he was shoehorned into the team a little bit as soon as he came in. We were seeing some reward, but not as much consistency and, flow in Sunderland's style, or, resilience in their style. We weren't seeing that with him in the team. And it's not all down to him. It really isn't. But there is a little bit of part of me that thinks, things might rebalance. We might see a little bit more control from Sunderland with him out the side, and intensity as well with him being out the side. So, yeah, it's a huge blow because he's a talented player, but it could be a positive because we might see the Sunderland before he came in, if that makes sense. Yeah, I'm trying to spin it here. Yeah,
I think that makes a lot of sense, Justin, in other injury news, it's also been reported Jayden Danns, who Sunderland got on loan in January, might not play for the club. It said he was already injured when he signed, but his injury is now believed to be more severe than expected and might be out for the season, which is a bit mad, really, isn't it? But I guess on the bright side for Sunderland with Lefay, they're probably not going to be automatically promoted now, are they? So all Sunderland are fighting for until May is securing a playoff place. And I mean, they've got a 12-point cushion there. So do they actually desperately need him for the coming weeks? I guess not, if we're almost throwing in the towel with automatic promotion when it comes to Sunderland. But the main thing is they'll have him back for the playoffs. And he should have a few games as well to get match fitness back up in preparation for that. So it's a big shame, but the big battle lies up ahead for Sunderland, in truth, doesn't it? So it's obviously a big shame, but I don't think it's the end of the world by any means. The good news is they have got players coming back from injury. Tommy Watson and Jensen Sielt are coming back into the fold, and Romain Mundle made his first appearance for Sunderland last weekend in nearly 4 months, and his return will be a big positive, won't it? Because he was one of their standout players at the start of the season before he got injured, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was brilliant. And it's good. I think he offers a directness and pace I think Sunderland have lacked since he came out of the team. And obviously Tommy Watson offered a little bit of that as well. And obviously he got injured. I think Patrick Roberts is very good. He's very direct, but I think sometimes he can slow possession down at times. But he lacks that pace as well. But Mundle, comes in and he offers that. He gives them a different dimension in the wide area to what Patrick Roberts offers and Endo Lefay. So him being back, I think, will give them a lot more on the counter attack. And they're not just going to have to drop the ball over the top for Isidore anymore, although that was a very good facet to the game over the last sort of 6 or 7 weeks when Lefay's been in the team. But yeah, you've got more players there who can play on the shoulder in Mundle and a little bit more directness. So yeah, it's a huge positive for me.
Well, Sunderland fans were eagerly anticipating his return because it was thought him coming back may mean Enzo Lefay gets played more centrally. But obviously, that's not something they have to worry about now. But look, Mundle was excellent earlier in the season, and he gives Sunderland a bit of unpredictability and flair, doesn't he? Which we've perhaps seen them lack recently. So it'll be interesting to see whether he starts in this game against Sheffield Wednesday. And speaking of Wednesday, they've got problems of their own, Justin, because Danny Rule has said in the lead up to this one, it's been a tough week for us, and you'll see why before this game. There could be players missing. Michael Smith is one of the question marks. Ibrahim Sissoko was ill during the week, so let's see on him. Some players are coming closer, but we have 3 or 4 big question marks this week. We have to find solutions, but I'm convinced the team on the pitch will be on fire. The last line kind of contradicts everything that he was saying, because otherwise it seems like that's not a very promising update from Danny Rule in terms of injuries, does it?
He's got to put a positive on it, hasn't he? He can't go into it doom and gloom. It's like, listen, this is going to be shit. It's going to be terrible, but it's going to be a flaming shit.
Yeah, maybe.
That's sort of what I take away from it. I don't know. I like. He's a great talker. He always has been. And Wednesday have had injury problems for a while. I mean, I couldn't tell you what centre halves are going to be available because I think they were asked a direct question. Danny Rule was about Dominic Iorfa and Akim Famewo, and very elusive on that. So it could genuinely be a lottery as to who starts this game for Wednesday, given the injury problems they do have. And that doesn't exactly provide you with any confidence, which is why he probably said they're going to be on fire.
He never said a good fire, did he? No.
Well, your fires aren't typically grey, are they? They do a lot of damage. So
no, it's a very fair point, which is...
So maybe it wasn't positive. No, maybe it was terrible news.
Yeah, maybe he's saying that very literally and it's just got lost in translation or something. I don't know. But yeah, he's keeping his cards close to his chest on who's actually available there, isn't he? But it's going to be very fascinating to see when we get to an hour before the kickoff and the lineups get announced. But looking at this game in general, as we say, Wednesday have been unpredictable this season. You often don't know what you're going to get with them, but they could really do with a win to get them back in the top 6 picture, couldn't they? Because they have been drifting out of it over the last few weeks with 3 losses in 4.
Yeah, it's massive. And obviously those 3 losses in 4 have come against teams that are gunning for promotion in their own right. You've got Burnley, who are obviously going for automatics, and Coventry and West Brom, who are pushing for a top place in the top 6. So I wouldn't say that the damage of those defeats are huge, but you've got to be getting points on the board against those teams who are up there with you, because psychologically, that can really, really boost you. And come the end of the season, if you do end up in the playoffs and you've picked up points against them, it's absolutely massive. But, until then, you've got to really, really kick on and push on. And I don't think we've seen that from Wednesday yet. We've seen real flashes of quality and brilliance. And there are moments where you go, oh yeah, this team can get cooking. Hopefully, fire-induced cooking, as Danny Rule put it. But it's not been a guarantee. And that's what you need at this stage in the season. You need guaranteed sustained success, whatever that looks like for any team. We're not seeing it often enough, unfortunately.
The home record certainly hasn't helped things because it is astonishingly bad for a playoff chasing side. Only Derby and Hull have won fewer points on home turf than Sheffield Wednesday this season. They've won more points on their travels than they have away, which is strange, isn't it? I don't know how that works. It would be good to get a positive result at Hillsborough, though, because their next home game is the small match of the Steel City Derby. So they could do with getting a bit of momentum heading into that. But it's now time for our second tier bet builder with SBK. I need to remind you that with SBK, they love getting their legs out. They're fresh legs, of course. What's fresh legs, I hear you ask? It means when a player gets subbed, your bet carries over onto the player coming on. So whether you need a shot on target, a yellow card, or a goal, fresh legs keeps you in the game. And surely you know by now that SBK are the only bookmaker offering this on every championship game this season. There truly is no better place to bet on the second tier. So sign up for SBK right now. Join the thousands of people already taking advantage of fresh legs every weekend. On top of that, SBK are offering a big 25% boost on any bet builder with 4 or more selections for Sheffield Wednesday versus Sunderland. Max stake £10 and T's and C's apply. So every Friday we make our own bet builder with 4 selections, all relating to our game of the week. So that's 2 for Justin, 2 for me. Justin, kick us off. What's the first selection?
I've gone with Wilson Isidore to score any time. If Sunderland are to have success in this game, it's going to be Wilson Isidore. I think Wednesday's potential lack of centre-backs is quite concerning, but I think the gangly, pacey number 9, that is Isidore. He's got 12 goals to his name, including 3 in his last 5. So he's going to be the main man in that final third. And obviously, if Romain Mundle's back, there's going to be a lot of crosses. But that byline, I know Endo Lefebvre is out, so that ball over the top option does diminish a little bit, but I think Isidore has proven time and time again he's a reliable goal scorer. He will get chances, and he only needs 1 or 2 or 3, give or take, to put them away.
Yeah, he does get a lot of stick, does Big Wilson, doesn't he? And he does miss some big chances, but he is still scoring on the regs, isn't he? 7 goals in his last 12 games.
Yeah,
and it's got to be pointed out, the games where he didn't score include that game against Burnley, where James Trafford saved 2 of his penalties. That game against Derby where he had a goal incorrectly ruled out. That game against Watford where he missed on 1-on-1 in the dying minutes. And then the game against Hull where he missed the biggest chance of the game on the volley in the second half. So in every game, he's getting at least 1 big chance. It's just a 50-50 chance about whether he's actually going to take that chance. But 11-5 he is with SBK to score any time. I think that's great value for a player who's always going to get a big chance at some point, Justin.
Yeah, and it's just whether he puts it away. But he's one of them where he looks very confident sometimes, and then sometimes he will let you down. And that's just a number 9 in his first season in Championship football. But given that he is Sunderland's main man in that final third, he's going to get chances. He is. He will get a chance against Wednesday. It's just whether he puts it away.
Yeah, as we've said, he gets a chance in pretty much every game. And of course, with fresh legs, even if he goes off, the bet rolls over onto whoever's coming on. So that's double bubble, really, isn't it? Let's go to my first selection. It's under 4.5 cards. It's Ryan's card pick of the week. Yep, it's your favourite time of the week. And I'm liking the look of this week's card pick. That's because the referee for this is Will Finney, who sounds like a player from the early 20th century, doesn't he? Scored 30 goals for the Wanderers before World War One. But actually, he's a referee who's not the most generous with his cards. In the last 10 games he's officiated, he's only had 1 where he's given out over 4.5 cards. So fingers crossed he has another one here where he keeps them in his little old pocket, Justin.
Yeah, I'm not going to go against you, but again, it's obviously a surprising one. I feel like referees, especially on the card picks, we're coming across quite a few who aren't very giving with their cards, and I don't know whether
stingy.
very stingy, which I guess is a good thing because the games aren't breaking up with fouls. But also, what's happening to football? Are we going too soft?
Woke,
do we need
mate.
more big tackles? I don't know.
Woke. It's woke.
It's woke. It is, yeah.
Nonsense. That's what's
football.
happened to football. It's disgraceful. And let's go on to the next selection, Justin. What have you got for us?
I've gone with both teams to score. Both teams to score is always a good shout with Sheffield Wednesday because of the chaos that reigns over them. Duh. But in 34 games this season for Wednesday, both teams to score, or both teams have scored in 18 of them. And actually for Sunderland, it's pretty, up there as well. 17 games that's happened. But more specifically with the Black Cats, obviously, they've had just one clean sheet in their last 6. Wednesday, 2 clean sheets in their last 6. So both teams to score in this game is, it's a doozy.
Yeah, I think this was always going to look a good bet when Sheffield Wednesday are involved because 6th highest scorers in the league for 5th worst defence. It's just common sense, really, isn't it? But I think going off what you were saying, Justin, you mentioned the 1 clean sheet in 6 games there for Sunderland. They've looked shaky at the back recently. I mean, they have looked more solid with Dan Ballard back in the team, but as previously mentioned, he's out for a while now. So that's a blow, and they're vulnerable. So BTTS looks a surefire pick to me. And our final pick for the Bet Builder is Sunderland to win. Now, this is a really tricky game because of Sunderland's dip in form. That's mainly been at the Stadium of Light, though, of course, failing to beat Hull, Plymouth and Watford. On their travels, they have been okay. They did a great job of keeping Leeds at bay for 75 minutes. They were impressive in their 3-2 win at Middlesbrough, got a win at Derby, and should have won at Burnley if it wasn't for those 2 penalty saves by James Trafford. So maybe they just prefer playing with less pressure that you get when you have an away game. I don't know, but that seems to be the case with Sunderland. And I think the return to the side of Romain Mundle is a nice, timely boost for them. But also, you've got to take into account Wednesday's shocking home record. As we were saying, only Hull and Derby have won fewer points at home this season than Sheffield Wednesday. And so I've got more fingers pointing to a Sunderland win than anything else. So I'm backing the Black Cats to get back on track.
I think the personnel problems that Wednesday have are the big swing for me. I think unless Danny Rule pulls out, I wouldn't say a rabbit, but a really good physio who can repair his injured squad, then sure.
That'd be an interesting magic trick, wouldn't it?
Definitely football based. Unless he does that, it's hard to see, the positives in terms of the personal problems that they do have. And I think with Sunderland, I know Lefay and Ballard are injured, but Chris Mepham's been solid. Luke O'Nine's been solid all season at centre back as well. They've got very good deputies in Sunderland. They've got a good potential to rotate, players that can come in and have an impact. So I think with that, you're just looking at a more settled team in that sense, rather than looking at Wednesday and going, well, who could do something here? With Sunderland, who can do something. So I think that from that point of view, you've got to back Sunderland with that.
And for my next trick, I'm going to make this physio disappear. Or in Sunderland's case, I'm going to make their automatic promotion chances disappear. That's the kind of magic tricks we're talking about here on the Second Tier podcast. But yeah, let's recap our bet builder for Sheffield Wednesday v Sunderland. Justin, the first pick we've gone with is Wilson is to score any time, under 4.5 cards, both teams to score, and Sunderland to win. A £10 stake on that bet builder returns £177 and 50 pence. Can't forget the 50 pence. And that's all thanks to SBK's 25% boost. But remember, if you don't fancy our bet builder with SBK, you can create your own bet builder from a range of markets. T's and C's apply. Over 18s only. And please do gamble responsibly. Justin will have a quick break. After that, we'll make some more predictions ahead of the weekend. Welcome back to the Second Tier podcast. Right, it's time for us to have a look ahead to the weekend. In each preview episode of the Second Tier, Justin and I will each pick a banker, a team we think is guaranteed to win this coming weekend, as well as an outsider, so someone we think is going to win but is bigger odds with our friends at SBK than their opponent. We're tracking how we do as the season goes on. It's 1 point for a correct banker, 2 points for an outsider. Whoever loses has to do a forfeit, which is to be a mascot at an EFL game next season. The current scores look like this. It's 34-26 to Justin Peach. I managed to close the gap by 1 point last week with my banker of Watford to beat Luton. Would still take quite the dramatic fight back from me with the games running out, though, to overturn this deficit at the moment. I really need to be hitting my outsiders to stand any chance, which is a lot easier said than done, really, isn't it, Justin?
Especially at this stage of the season where there are a lot more guarantees. I feel like in the first half of the season, you can get away with a little bit more. That might not be in conjunction with the points that we've scored at all, by the way. I might just be talking out my arse, but it just feels like things are a lot more unpredictable in the first half of the season when the stakes aren't as high compared to the second half of the season where teams that are fighting for relegation go, "Ooh, shit, we've got to really tighten up here and have a game plan." And obviously the teams that are going for promotion, etc. There's just a little bit more going on. So yeah, the outsiders become a little bit harder.
Yeah, they'll be the thing that decides it, I think, if it's not decided already. But it will also help if we get our bankers correct. So without further ado, Justin, what is your banker for this weekend in the Championship?
I've gone with Leeds to win at home to West Brom on Saturday lunchtime. Yes, I'm going against logic here. Even a lunchtime kickoff for Leeds on current form isn't putting me off. It's logic. You know it's logic. Yes. Yeah, what? No, the lunchtime kickoff is an absolutely real thing. It is. Ryan's going to roll his eyes. He's going to curse this incredible knowledge and insight that I've bestowed upon the listeners, viewers, and the footballing world over the past season. I've unearthed something, and I'll make everyone know about it. But that's not enough. It's not enough for this Leeds team, who are just finding ways to win games when all hope is lost. Against both Sheffield United and Sunderland, they've not particularly looked great for large percentages of those two games. Let's be direct and honest about it. We both came out, you and I, Ryan, came out of those games thinking we were going to praise Leeds' opposition because they held strong, they were resolute, game plan was perfect for 60, 70 minutes before Leeds just turned it up a gear. And that comes with a couple of changes, a couple of substitutions, and an increase in intensity and belief, and the Leeds team looks unplayable thereafter. And when a team is on a roll like this, it's hard to stop. In addition to that, they're quite important. Baggies have yet to find their flow under Tony Mowbray away from the Hawthorns. They've lost to Borough, Plymouth and drew just Millwall in their 3 so far. And it feels like you need 3 goals to beat this Leeds team. So can we really see West Brom scoring 3 at Ellen Road? Not for me.
Even with the early kickoff, Justin, are you sure? Are you
sure even with the early kickoff, Adam Armstrong, goals. I know it's difficult, but like I said, this Leeds team's just got muscle memory at the minute. Winning muscle memory.
Even though they're having to get up early.
Even though they're having to get up early and have their carby meal before 10 o'clock, I'm aware. It's difficult. This is the hardest banker you could have possibly gone for. You didn't go for it, Ryan. I wonder if the 12:30 logic was playing in your mind when you didn't pick this banker.
No,
it clearly was.
In my banker, I know who the opposition are, and they're shite. More on that very shortly. But I can't believe you're basically admitting that the early kickoff thing is just a load of bollocks. But that's fine. I'm glad we finally got there.
No, you're not doing that. You're not doing that. It's not bollocks. And I tell you what, I'll sacrifice a banker point here if it means my lunchtime kickoff theory is correct. Okay. But on the other side of that, Leeds are just so bloody good at the moment. Come on.
Yeah, doesn't matter that their game kicks off a matter of hours earlier than it usually does. But we have had some news regarding Leeds in the past few days. Just now, I say news, it's just reports at the moment. But their chief exec, Angus Kinnear, is said to be set to leaving the club at the end of the season. The Daily Mail claims he's going to be joining Everton. Kinnear has been at Ellen Road since 2017. And there's been a bit of a mixed reaction from Leeds fans to these reports. Many have said, thank goodness. Others have said, actually, he's done a good job. What do you think, Justin?
How do you assess whether a CEO's done a good job? It's difficult. They've got a lot of investment that's come in from the 49ers and a wealth of different bloody athletes. So that's a positive. On the same side of the coin, he gave the keys to Victor Orta for a long time and it wasn't working. So I think with that, you can say he's done a good job because he oversaw a lot of changes that allowed Leeds to become a thriving team again. They stopped becoming a laughingstock. They became a force to be reckoned with. Is that all down to the CEO? No. But again, a lot of the structure and, direction comes from the top. And, he oversaw a lot of that. So you've got to credit him for that. But at the same time, there were mistakes made. That's the reason why they're in the Championship. They made mistakes and it happens.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment, and you are right. How do you really assess a CEO? But I think if you boil it simply down to results on the pitch, since he's come in, Leeds have enjoyed their most success since they got relegated in the early 2000s. And he's the only senior figure at the club who's been kept on after the 49ers took over the club a couple of years ago. So it seems like he's well thought of at the club and has played a big part in making Leeds what they are today. So I think it will be a blow. I'm sure some Leeds fans will pick out things which could have been better, but by and large, they seem to have been a lot better off with him there. So, I mean, it presents an opportunity for them to find someone else and take them in a different direction, I guess. But you look at all the evidence that's laid in front of you, it does seem like a blow, Justin.
Yeah, it is. I think it's not going to be detrimental to the success of Leeds going forwards, but I think the appointment, we don't really focus on it too much because, do listeners really want to hear us talk about CEO appointments? Because they are very important. They are. They can define the direction of a football club. They are the voice and sometimes the rational voice of an owner as well. And again, that's very they're very important figures in that sense. But at the same time, will Leeds fall apart with him going? I very much doubt it. No,
that's completely fair. It's always very difficult to say how much of an input these guys have, but he's going to play a big role behind the scenes, isn't he? So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he does go, because it is just reports at this stage, and how they recover from that if it does happen. Let's go to my banker for this weekend. It's Middlesbrough to win at home to Derby on Saturday afternoon. Now, Middlesbrough had lost 5 in a row, and it was looking a bit perilous for Michael Carrick's future, but fortunately for him, the fixture schedule has done him a solid. They were away at Stoke on Tuesday night, which they won, and now they've got Derby at home, and that is a Derby side who are woefully out of form. Let's play a numbers game, Justin. 1, that's how many goals Derby have scored from open play in their last 9 games. 2, that's how many points they've won in their last 11 games. 3, they've got the 3rd worst away record in the Championship, and so on and so on. It's not great. John Eustace has walked into a dumpster fire and he needs to put it out quickly. The issue is he's up against the clock, and it would be difficult to see him producing a surprise here, particularly off the back of how poor the previous 2 games were for the Rams. And because you've got a Middlesbrough side here who have had a confidence-boosting win in midweek. Also worth mentioning, Derby have a pretty honking record at Middlesbrough. They've only won once on Teesside since the year 2000. That's 1 in 15 visits to the Riverside Stadium. So not great at all, and that's why I'm going with a Middlesbrough win this weekend. It's actually quite surprising, Justin, because people might not realise this. Pride Park and the Riverside Stadium are virtually identical because they were designed by the same architect. So you'd have thought it would almost be a home away from home for Derby.
I don't know why it's tickled me, but it's just like, just blindfold the players and just be like, "Well, you're playing at Pride Park here, lads."
Except it's red now.
Except it's red. I don't know why that's so funny, but yeah, I just very much doubt they give a shit, really. The players, but look, everything you mentioned there is now teeing up a Derby 1-0 win. I don't know why. That being said, Derby will need to do a lot of things here to secure a win. Firstly, score. Secondly, win. 1 away win all season is absolutely sickening. So if they go to Riverside, the Riverside and get a second win in 25 years up there, it would just be a turn for the books if they do it. It really wouldn't. And that's why going for a Middlesbrough win here is the banker. It is the banker. That being said, there is Borough tax at play here. I was atted by a couple of Borough fans with polite recommendations that they are to be avoided picking a banker this weekend. Just saying, I did my part. I didn't pick them.
They've done all right for me this season. It's you who's cursed them every single week. Every single time I've picked them, I think they've more or less done well. So we know who the good luck charm is for Middlesbrough this season. But there we go. Those are mine and Justin's 2 bankers for this weekend. And every week we combine these 2 selections with a bet on the full-time result of our game of the weekend to create our very own second-tier featured accumulator with SBK. And as per usual, we're including one of our outsiders, which we put to you, the listener, to decide who else gets included. However, we've had a dilemma. because we did our usual poll on Twitter to decide which outsiders included, and it ended 50-50. So to decide it, we've had to use drastic measures. We've controversially asked producer Tom to decide, who has cost us in the past, but that's the only way to decide it. So this week, we're going for Leeds, Middlesbrough, Sunderland, and my outsider of Portsmouth, all to win. Justin, you're never getting picked for these accumulators, apparently.
Don't know why, because I am leading. It's just, obviously, with producer Tom being an Exeter fan, there's a heavy seaside bias here. He's going for the seaside-based town. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, a South Coast biased, I guess.
Yeah.
Is Exeter? I guess Exeter's not technically on the South Coast. It's southwest, but it's not technically on the South Coast, is it?
No, but it's seaside-based, so...
Okay.
There you go.
There you go.
I think
Justin's geography lesson of the week there, ladies and gents. But Leeds, Middlesbrough, Sunderland and Portsmouth all to win. A £10 bet on our accumulator returns £224 thanks to SBK's 20% boost. T's and C's apply, over 18s only. And please do gamble responsibly. Let's go on to my outsider for this weekend of Portsmouth to win away at Luton on Saturday afternoon. You may have noticed I haven't gone with anything flashy with my predictions this week. I've just backed the two shittest teams in the division right now, both to lose. And let's be honest, would anyone confidently be backing Luton to get a result right now? I was stunned that the odds are as short as they are for this one. Luton are slightly above evens last time I checked to win this one, which seems bonkers for a side who have won just 3 points from their last 12 games. They're bottom of the table for a reason. Matt Bloomfield has had next to no impact since coming in, and if they are to stay up, they probably have to be looking at Portsmouth at home as a must-win game. But to almost sum up Luton's luck this season, they're facing Portsmouth at probably the worst possible time, because Pompey are in the midst of their best run of form of the season. 3 wins on the bounce, and it's just about getting to the stage where they're pretty much safe. Not long ago, they were looking like one of the prime candidates. Now, you'd say they're just about there, 9 points clear of the bottom 3. But John Eustace will still want to make sure they get it over the line, and they're going to a side who are winless in 5 at home. And you're coming off the back of your best form of the season. So this is a great chance for Pompey to take one small step towards safety, one giant leap to piling the misery on Luton Town. So I'm backing a win for John Eustace's boys this weekend.
Yeah, one even bigger leap to a potential Portsmouth-Southampton derby next season. I think that's the bigger bit of the pie coming out of this if Portsmouth do win.
I would say that's looking pretty likely at this stage, Justin.
But we never know what Southampton can pull out in the Premier League.
I do.
Yeah, look, Ryan's very much playing the Luton tax here. They are absolutely hopeless. Like you said, Matt Bloomfield's not got anything out of that team yet. I think that's the worrying thing. Their inability to open teams up consistently and do so without just putting crosses in the box like Rob Edwards is doing is seemingly the frustration there. I know they pose a good physical threat going forwards, but they're not doing enough. Out of possession, again, I think when you've got the quality of Josh Murphy, Matt Ritchie's been a big player for them, Colby Bishop as well. They've had new signings come in and settle and be brilliant. They have come on in leaps and bounds and had a very proactive January. And they've plugged gaps where they had big gaps, whereas I don't think Luton have. And we're seeing that with the performances mainly, because the performances over the past 5 weeks, I think Portsmouth, they've been brilliant. So they go into this clear favourite. Well, not clear favourites in terms of the bookies odds, but you'd be very, very confident in a Portsmouth result here.
You'd be fancying them, wouldn't you? It is worth mentioning Portsmouth have had some injury concerns. Of course, we've already mentioned recently how Callum Lang's going to miss the rest of the season, but concerns about the likes of Rob Atkinson, Hayden Matthews, Isaac Hayden, and various others. So that would be a concern for Pompey heading into this, but still, they are full of confidence right now, whereas Luton definitely aren't. Let's go to your outsider for this weekend. Justin, what have you got for us?
I've gone with Watford to win away at Stoke on Saturday afternoon, fresh after compiling the misery on Stoke in our midweek show. I've gone with Watford to beat them as well. I was surprised to see Watford as outsiders for this one, but I'll take it. Stoke at home just look bereft of ideas. We spoke extensively about Robbins on Thursday's show, Stoke are conceding more chances, they're creating less, and Watford are coming into this game with what feels like renewed vigour. They've won their last two. They went away to Borough, picked up a result, and the derby against Luton did both games relatively comfortably. So I wouldn't want to be playing Watford off the back of that. And when you look at Stoke as well in their game in midweek against Borough cut through them easily. It felt like the fight was fading. And they will need it here because as far as hitting the basics go, Watford are a very competitive team. Tom Cleverley's game plans on a match-by-match basis are very, very effective. And he will know. I know most teams will, but he will specifically exploit the Stoke weaknesses. And Stoke have a lot. They have a lot. And that's the big concern there. So yeah, Watford to win away is Stoke for me.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what state Watford are in because they had a pretty drastic downturn in form, didn't they? But now back-to-back wins. But in the M1 derby against Luton last Sunday, they weren't exactly taken to task, were they? So it'll be interesting going forwards to see whether they have properly turned a corner. But at the same time, I would not want to be siding with Stoke to get a result in a game because they have been looking so bereft of confidence, as you say, Justin, and just generally really poor. Mark Robbins is not having the desired effect, as we spoke about at length in yesterday's show. And they're in a bit of a pickle and looking like they're certainly looking over the shoulder when it comes to the old relegation battle. And the kind of disillusionment with the Stoke fans right now was perfectly highlighted by John Walters on Wednesday night, Stoke's sporting director, of course. He was doing the punditry on the Man United v Ipswich game on Wednesday night, which is a decision which has gone down like a shit in an elevator with the Stoke fans. Many saying, surely this shouldn't be a priority right now, Justin.
I'd agree with them. I think when things are going well for your team, you do have a bit more of a right to do your TV work if it comes up. Obviously, it's very rare that sporting directors get this opportunity because not many are former players and not many are former players who have had, fairly decorated Premier League careers, maybe being a bit, bit loose with that. Yeah, okay, maybe. But, when your club's, as I put it, circling the drain of relegation, and you've made a lot of mistakes this season as a sporting director, the last thing you need to be doing is being seen on TV. It's just a bit of a PR own goal. I don't, if he needs to pick up work, fair enough, but I'm sure he's getting well paid by Stoke for being their sporting director, so it does seem a bit daft. He didn't need to do it. He just didn't need to do it.
Yeah, you'd have thought he'd be getting well paid, put it that way. Anyway, that's been our predictions for this weekend, ladies and gents. And that means it must be time for this.
All right. Settle down, you lot. It's time for the Craig Bryson pub quiz.
You are absolutely right, Mr. Barman. It's the Craig Bryson pub quiz, and this is how it blummin' works. Justin is going to give me 6 clues about a championship player, past or present, each more revealing than the last. And I simply have to guess who it is. They must have made over 200 championship appearances in their career. And don't forget, the Dexter Blackstock rule is in play. So what have you got for me, Justin Peach? You bastard.
I've made 318 appearances, scoring 45 goals.
Has he really? I would say that sounds like a midfielder. So I'll go with, someone like Johnny Howson.
That is incorrect.
Okay, fair enough.
I was born and raised in Nottingham, but part of the Leeds Academy as a youngster before making my debut for Hull.
Making his debut at Hull?
Professional debut for Hull, yeah.
Oh, interesting. Part of the Leeds Academy, but he made his professional debut at Hull. What happened there then, I ask? Rhetorically.
You'd have to ask him. Yeah. I don't know.
Interesting. That doesn't really give me much of an idea. I'll go with Ian Ashby.
It's not Ian Ashby, but he was born and raised in Derby.
I know he was from around this part of the world where obviously we're recording from, and he was at Hull, but I don't know his career very well, so move on, please.
Fair enough. I made my professional debut in the Premier League for Hull, but it took me 8 years to return to the top flight.
Okay. I haven't got any years, which doesn't particularly help. Leeds Academy, you say? Oh, really? I don't know. David Mailer. Don't think he was born in Nottingham. I think he's Irish, actually.
It's not David Mailer. Not scored that many goals either.
No, I don't think Ian Ashby scored that many goals either.
I then moved to Blackburn from Hull, playing a key role in the midfield for 2 years, boasting teammates such as Paul Robinson, David Dunn, Jordan Rhodes, and Luke Varney.
Not sure the timelines line up here, but how about Richard Smallwood?
It is not Richard Smallwood.
No.
You've got 2 clues left.
Okay. I've got an idea of someone it could be now, actually. Go on.
I've been promoted to the Premier League 3 times with the same club.
Yeah.
As well as scoring a winner in the playoff final.
Yeah, I think it is. I completely forget he was born in Nottingham, but I'm pretty sure it's the man who Fulham's official Twitter account put out the other day said has the most incredible hairline on earth. And that, of course, is Sir Thomas Kearney.
It is Sir Thomas Kearney. And that was my final clue.
Yeah. One of the most bizarre tweets I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. For the listeners, the final clue is my club recently posted about my hairline on X, formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
It's one of those things that we all know, because we're all very jealous of Tom Kearney's hairline, but still, you don't tweet it out from a club's official Twitter account.
No. Maybe a TikTok. It's a TikTok thing, I think, where you lay shade on other professional footballers who don't have as good a hairlines. Maybe another captain of another Premier League club. Maybe a rival club. Maybe have a look at who Brentford's captain is and his hairline. Maybe it's getting too personal.
His hairline.
Just abuse his hairline. Yeah, because that's what club admins do on social media now, on TikTok specifically, is they abuse other clubs quite explicitly.
Yeah, I don't get TikTok. I still don't. The second tier TikTok account has been doing pretty well recently, and I keep posting on there, but I have no idea what's happening.
It's the youth. They recognizing that we've got Riz.
Have we got Riz?
I think we do.
Yeah.
It depends what Riz is.
Does that slap, Justin?
Slaps as hard as Tom Kearney's hairline.
Yeah, there you go. We are down with the kids, ladies and gents. But there we go. This has been the second tier preview show brought to you by SBK. We'll have to ask producer Tom after that whether any of that made sense, because he's young and edgy. Yeah, and he'll have a better idea than us old men sat in our rooms talking and moaning about modern day football. But this has been the second tier preview show brought to you by SBK, and we'll be back, of course, on Sunday to review how that said weekend went. So we look forward to seeing you then for that. But this has been the second tier podcast. I've been Ryan Dilks.
I've been Justin Peach.
And a big thank you for listening.